And today we're going to be going through, through envy and jealousy and finding out how the inner workings of these two words actually work in the Bible. Something we actually need to know and how it works to where we can, every time we come to these parts of it and pieces of it in the Bible, we can always catch it ahead of time before we go deeper into scriptures on it. So before I get started, I do want to reach out and let people know to keep Elder T in your prayers. You know, they heard some things today, and we just want to make sure we keep him in our prayers and make sure that everything with this brother is going to be okay. And the same as I do know while I was with him, Elder Pittman had called me. So my brother also, I will be calling you as soon as I come off of here to make sure I can take that call. So with those said, we need to find out what is going on. Because the scriptures, when we look at envy and jealousy, and it never portrays God actually being envy in a positive light. Including the Bible never depicts God ever being envious at all. We have to find out exactly what is envy and how can something become envious, because that meaning to provoke something to anger. So I'm asking each and every person who's joining us today, make sure that you have your pencil and paper ready. The reason why I'm saying this is so important, we're going to be doing these on a weekly basis where we're going to be addressing certain topics in the Bible, but something that you're not actually going to see right on the scripture text per se right in front of you, but we have to go into the precepts to show you exactly what are the drivers. And this is one of them: envy and jealousy. So we got to understand what it means. We have to understand what it means, but we have to understand the driver of them. So we're going to go into these. We want to look at this. And we need to know what they are, know what they mean. So we're going to look at Job and make sure that you have your pencil and paper, because later on you're going to be able to dig in, and you can do not only a self-check, but you can also understand when you getting ready to do something, you'll understand where it's coming from. Or if someone coming at you that way. This is what it's for. It's not for you to sit there and say, oh, this person, this is for them. They need to see this because this is them. No, it's not for that. It's for you to do a self-check. And also you can recognize if someone being envious or showing jealousy towards you. You're going to find out some things that are going to shock many people when we look at this. So we're going to start in Job. We're going to look at Job, and we're going to go to chapter 16. We're going to look at verse 3. And this is a question that's going out. This is a question. It says, so shall vain words have an end? Shall vain words have an end? Vain, and we want to write things down because I want to make sure we clearly understand each other as we go through scripture to find out what things are. And vain is empty, false. That's what vain is. It's empty, false. It has nothing in it. So shall lying spirits have an end, which it gets into. Because it says, or what emboldeth thee that thou answer. Exactly the point. So shall lying spirits have an end. Because what's going to embolden you to answer? What's going to embolden you to answer? And we have seen some of this over here in Galatians chapter 5 and verse 26. It says, if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. If we live in the Spirit, we should also walk in the Spirit. The problem we have is most times when vain words come at us, sometimes many of us are emboldened to where we're going to answer. Many times, something is going to embolden us to answer. This is why I say we're going to go down, we're going to take out the nuts and the bolts on this. In John chapter 6, verse 63, Yahushua says this. He says this. He says, it is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. So if we know this is true, because we read it all the time, it's read all the time. If the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing, vain words, why are you answering to them? Number one, in the words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. So his words is truth and they are life. But vain words depends. This is your key. Keep this in mind. Vain words depends on the content within them. They are nothing, but it's the content within them. They the ones that actually has the effect. Hopefully you guys are following that. Meaning this. The vain words have nothing actually in them, but they're going to put some things in there that's still vain, such as power or money or some type of control in the word that they're going to speak to you. That's what's happening here. Those are vain words. And they can cause one to be emboldened, saying things that will provoke them to answer. Hopefully you guys are following that. Meaning people can sit there and say things to you they're emboldening them. Say one more thing, I dare you. Do this, I dare you. And some people will be emboldened to do those things. Because all they did is put another key in there to make you emboldened to answer them. Something that was stated that they wanted you to react to. Sometimes it'll be painful, sometimes it'll be a state of just vain words too. See, but vain words are mainly the main thing that make you and will make you provoked to wrath. All based on vain words using false, futile lies to cause you to react. I want you to understand what that means. I want you to understand what's happening here. See, in verse 4, it says this. Because we're gonna start tearing down just everything. And it says, I also can speak as ye do. So I can throw words back at you. If your soul were in my soul stead. So it was in replacement. He could speak the same way if he had the same spirit that says, watch this. I could heap up words against you and shake my head at you. How many of us do this? How many of us do this? Let's look at it this way. How many people where they was out at a place, they was out somewhere, and was emboldened based on a statement and probably could have got by on a ticket or could have got a better seating, or could have got, they said this was a sellout, but they had a couple of extra tickets. But they was emboldened and spoke vain words and then got rejected. To tell you a short story, I wasn't going to even tell this, but just tell you a short story. My wife and I, we was in, I believe it was in North Carolina. We was on a plane to come back, but something happened. And all of a sudden, all these flights start canceling backwards and forwards, and just counseling. Everybody's counseling. So what happened with us, we was flying standby. And what ended up happening, they said, well, we don't know what's going to happen here because everybody's screwed up now. So we said, okay, there's nothing we can do. So we were trying to see what's going on, see what's happening. And later on, as people in the place got really crowded, and my main thing with my wife, she get irritated quick. She get, she like to, I just want to go to, she get irritated quick. But even everybody who paid for tickets, everything else, everybody is messed over. So I went over to the customer service desk, and it was four airline stewardesses there, and I have a habit to where I will play and toy with women, not flirting, but I toy with them, and I sat there, and as they going through, they being business like with everybody. And I come up there, and I'm playing around with them and saying different things. And the girl who was helping me, she didn't say it was any seats. She just told me to go back, but it was the one that was next to her. She said, "Sir, I tell you what, I'm hungry." She said, "If you go over there and you get us a salad, I'll take care of you right now." I said, "You ain't said nothing but a thing." So I believe my wife came over at the time. Then we went over there and it was, I can't think of the name of the chicken place now. Went over there and got 4 salads. And got each one of them one. And then when we ordered them, they had to prepare them, but they didn't have time because they already had got our tickets. So I just gave them enough money so all 4 can get the things. Even though they had hundreds of people in there trying to get a flight. She made it sure we was able to get on that exact flight. And where I messed up at, it was another gentleman said, but I didn't know she had did what she did. I didn't know that. And there was another gentleman was talking about it, and I said, yeah, you can go talk to them. They put me on the flight. So he went and told her, and the girl called me over because she still didn't give him a flight. And she told me, she said, what I did for you, I did for you. I didn't do it for him. She said, sometimes when somebody do something for you, just keep it to yourself. And that taught me right then that that was not for him. And he paid for his flight, but he wasn't able to get on the flight that we was on. So that taught me that people, and he had vain words to tell her, but that taught me that when you approach people, and you approach people, and you cool with people, those things goes a long way. And those words can come with a repercussion behind it. So when you look at this, you have to understand what's happening here. In verse 5, it says this. It says, but I will strengthen you with my mouth, and my movement of my lips should assuage your grief. And we want to just understand a couple of things here. So these are the possibilities that can happen. But the as weak mean to hold or withhold off or to spare or to lessen. That's all he's saying. So he's saying he can lessen your grief. He should say something. That's all he's saying here. Because of the response that he was going to make was not going to be in envy. It wasn't going to be provoking. That's all he's saying here. So the best way to see this with this as week is this. We're going to look at Job and we're going to go up to 6 right here. We're going to see and pick up a little bit more. It says, though I speak not in grief, not in as week, not holding off, because he's still going to speak. He said, I'm still going to speak. And though I forbear, am I eased? So he's making a lot of things clear. So the grief is talking about his bitterness, his pain, his suffering, and offense. So should he speak back negatively? Or it be lessened? So he said, I forbear. I'm going to refrain and I'm going to endure. I'm going to hold off and be as one ease. I'm just going to be quiet. Not speaking in envy is key. Not provoking the person. So the key becomes is what? Did Yahushua do something of the same? Did he ever become envious about certain things? Because envy, when you want to look at the bare bones of this, you write this down to keep it. See, envy mean be jealous, torment, jealousy, zeal, and strife. That's the key, that very fiber of envy. The very fiber of envy. That's what that is. You write that down and you hold it because you can always find it within there. Let's look at Deuteronomy and see some of this here. We're going to go to Deuteronomy. We'll go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. We're going to pick it up at verse 19. And it says, when the Lord saw it, let me see if I can put this all on one page. Yeah. It says here, it says, when the Spirit of God saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking, exactly the point, this envy, to being envious, of his sons and of his daughters. You see this? So we see the Spirit of God hated anyone that was provoking and moving him to anger, which was because of his people, and many was provoking them to envy. Many people was provoking them to envy. Let's see the point of it. Actually, let me go here. I'm gonna be in the same place, but we're gonna see what started this. To see how things are happening, we're gonna go to 32, same place, but we're gonna look at where it kind of cranked up at. 32, we're gonna look at verse 1. We're going to look at verse 1 because we're gonna see what kind of cranked everything up. It says, "Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine," see, this is where the problem we start kicking in. "My doctrine shall drop as rain, my speech shall distall as dew, as small rain upon tender herb and shower upon the grass. He says, because I will publish my name of the Spirit of God, ascribe ye greatness unto your God." Now watch this. And he says, he is the rock. He is the rock. His work is perfect. For all his ways are judgment, God of truth and without iniquity, without acts of sin. just and right as he. This is where the problem is. Because people didn't like his people doing this, who's been rolling around with God. So the people was envy of God's people. People who are of the covenant and chose not to be part of something else. And then you have these ones who didn't want to be part of the covenant, so they was provoking the God's people to anger. That's what was going on. We're gonna see more of it. But I just want to hold on one part. We want to see something that's happening. We're going to look at Leviticus chapter 11 and what he said. We're going to look at verse 44 because we make sure the Bible is all connected. So we just want to know things that God said to where we won't have no mistakes anywhere. So we know this is penned and it's there. It says, "For I am the Spirit of your God. Ye shall therefore for that reason sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy." Finished thought. He says, "For I am holy. Neither shall ye defile yourself with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." And he actually repeats this. He repeats this. "For I am the Spirit of God that bringeth you up out of the land of bondage to be your God. Ye shall for that reason be holy. Be separated, for I am holy." He's telling you this right up front. So we still supposed to have separated ourselves on all things. On all things. This is what we should have done. But the problem is we wasn't doing that. This is why I say this is part of the problem. This is part of the problem in our working process on what our biggest issue was. In Romans chapter 12 and picking it up at verse 19, he says this. He says this. And he makes this clear. He says, "Dearly beloved, avenge not yourself, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord." Meaning what? When you're being moved to envy, vengeance belongs to God. He's going to repay the envy and jealousy. Because these are the backsliding people who are nothing but perverse. So why are we knowing this? Why do we know this? That he's given place, and we need to just give place for his wrath. Just get out the way. Because people are going to move you to envy, and they're going to use vain words to do it. He says this even make sure it's even clear. Watch how he makes sure this is clear in verse 20. He says, "I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are all forward, a very forward generation." This is dead serious here because we're going to find out what these two words mean. Because a forward mean telling you they are a crooked, backsliding, falsehood, perverse people. A crooked generation. What he's saying. They're very forward. They're very crooked. They're very backsliding. That's all that's saying. This is the crooked, perverse generation. And it says, children in whom is no faith. It's not there. And since it's not there, they had continually talked trash to his people. They have continually talked trash to his people. So what he's saying is this, verse 21. Make sure it's clear. Make sure we all get it. He says, "They have moved me to jealousy." So we got to find out what that means. As with the other one, we got to know what this means to know how it is. Because if it moved into jealousy, how can you provoke someone to jealousy, even God? Are you with me? See, because he's saying this. So how can someone or a people provoke God to jealousy? Now you see the point. But I'm going to show you. You can do it. And I'm going to show you one of the main ones. Leviticus, picking it up at chapter 26. He put this, and we're going to look at it right at verse 27. And he says this. Actually, let me unhighlight this, and we're going to grab this one. Verse 27. He says this. He says, if ye will not for all this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me. But walk contrary unto me. This is so serious here. And the reason why I'm kind of harping on this, because if ye have made an agreement with the Most High God, and you have made this promise to keep it, so you have a covenant that is clear with understanding. And actually, we're going to tell you what, better yet, let's look at another part of this. I want to show you something. We're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 3. Pick it up at verse 15. 3, pick it up at verse 15. This is why I want you to see this. Actually, it's already highlighted. It says, I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding of these scriptures. This is what he's talking about. So he paid interpreters for this word. He paid people to properly break this down for you. He paid for this. That can show you the covenant that you're supposed to be hearkening to. That's what I want you to follow. People decide if you want to move him to jealousy, and he paid for these people to do what? Because this is the promise that we made to God. This is a promise we made to God. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. Verse 12 tells you right here. And now, Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee? But to desire the Spirit of thy God, to walk in all his with the Spirit of thy God with all thy heart and all thy soul. Did we get the understanding of this? Did we get an understanding of that? Let's see. We got the understanding from the beginning. Because Exodus chapter 19, picking up at verse 5, it says this. It says, now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you should be able to procure your treasure, his own possession, unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And what do 8 say? And all the people answered together and said, all that the Spirit of God hath spoken, we will do. So we understood the contract. We understood the covenant. So we can't say we don't understand it. And even in the details in the contract, you'll see it in Deuteronomy. The details on the contract is in Deuteronomy. So we can't sit there and play these games like we don't know. Actually, I don't want 5, I want 6. But we're going to go to 6:24. And we're going to look at it. It says, and the Spirit of God commanded us to do all these statutes, to desire the Spirit of our God, and for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day, comparing the same way as it is this day, and it shall be our righteousness. This is going to be us keeping the agreement, providing we observe and do all these commandments before the Spirit of our God, as he have commanded us. What's rocket science here? It's nothing, because we sit there and we made a vow with him and we need to pay it. So anything other than keeping the agreement is a violation of the covenant. And with that saying, then he going to sit there and with the acts or by our speech, we let our nay be nay and we let our yea be yea. But we didn't do that. We let our nay be yea and our yea be nay. That'll provoke him to jealousy. Let's look at this in verse 28. Because it tells you right at the top that we need to obey something. We need to hearken, but walk contrary unto me. He said, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury. And even I, will chasten you 7 times your sins. So the question becomes is this. Should God obey your words? Should he obey your words? Should God have respect unto your glory? See, these things people want to seek from God, but we sit there and we act like God, our creator, we need to have God rolling with our program. Are you with me? We need to have God rolling with our program. That don't make no sense. See, we'll sit there and if God haven't done nothing for us lately, we don't even have respect to God and provoke him to jealousy. I'm going to show you, prove the point. The point is that to show you how we do. To where we need to understand how we need to watch what we say. We're going to look at Malachi chapter 1, picking it up at verse 6. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Let me see. We can get it all there. And it says this in verse 6. Malachi says, a son honors his father, a son honors his creator, a servant his master. Providing, then if I, who God, be a father, where is my honor? Where is my honor? Better yet, if I be a master, where's my fear? Think about it. Think about that. See, because we're going to provoke him to jealousy. Look at verse 1. Actually, look at verse 2 more so. He says, I have loved you, saith the Spirit of God. Yet ye say, see, what we say is what? What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? Wherein hast thou loved us? We continually do these things. And it literally provoked the Most High to jealousy. So envy will provoke someone to jealousy. And we was envy of God. Provoked him to jealousy. He's telling you, and I moved them to jealousy, which those are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. He even said this stuff even later, what he was going to do. Romans tells us a little bit more, which we're going to look at. We're going to look at Romans chapter 13. We're going to pick it up at 13. And this is our problem. It's the same problem we have over here with Malachi. It says, let us walk honestly, comparing in the day, not in rioting, in drunkenness, walking crooked, not in chambering, and in wantonness, not in strife, in envying. So in the rioting, not in rivalry, drunkenness, would call us not to walk straight, not in chamber stages of our own thoughts, chamberings of our own thoughts, or in the wantonness, desires of physical things, desires of physical things. Actually, for example, let's look at this. Because this is what moved him the first time. 1 Timothy, we're going to pick it up at chapter 5, and verse 8. It says, but if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Those are harsh words. See, because look at this condition. He's telling you, if you cannot care for your own house, your own body, then you also have denied the faith. And your true condition is worse than an infidel, a non-believer. That's what he's talking about here. We have people who sit there and tell you all these things, but showing you truly what they really are. In verse 9, it tells you this. It says, let not a widow be taken unto the number under 80 years old, having been a wife of one man. So what is he talking about? See, if you're not trusting in God and one is walking contrary to God for the wanting of things of this world, for example, a widow, let her not be chosen as if she have to be not at least 60 years of age, having been a wife to one man. But under these conditions is key. It says, well report of good works. She have brought up children. If she have lodged strangers. If she have washed the saints' feet. Meaning she didn't got them right. Not sitting there washing your physical feet. Because we got fools out there who will sit there and say these things. They look at everything physical and they have people doing these physical, stupid, idiotic things. And it says, if she have revived the afflicted, she have diligently followed every good work. Showing a good report. See, but the problem is this. The younger widows have issues. He says this. But younger widows refuse. That's what they ain't doing all that. I'm not doing that. Why? For the warnings of things. Wherein have I loved you? Wherein have you loved us? He said he loved us. We say, where at? He said, I have loved you, said the Lord. But ye say, wherein have you loved us? And these young women that sit there and say, well, my husband gone, so we're going to refuse to do these things, and watch how he goes on with this. Watch how this works out. For when they have begun to wax wanting against Christ. Wanting things. To want this, want that. They will marry against Christ. See, you got this, I marry you. You have women out there. Well, no, she don't have nothing to bring to the table. The first thing come out of my mind, my man need to be making at least 6 figures or better. What do you have? Well, you got me. Okay, what about you? What do you have? He got me. No, 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 no. What about you? What do you bring to the table? You remove intimacy from the table. What do you have? We have a good conversation. Really? Worth 6 figures? Because worth 6 figures, you can go be on TV. But for them warning against things, against Christ. And it goes on more here, because it's telling you right here. Having damnation because they have cast off their first faith. Because they cast off their first faith. Their envy was moved to jealousy. Their envy was moved to jealousy. They was a young widow moved to jealousy because of wax of wanting things. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Well, I need a man can do this, I need a man can do that. He can't do that, don't need him. Envy moved to jealousy. Remember Naomi? Most people don't remember Naomi. But I'm going to tell you a little story about Naomi. Actually, I'm going to go to Naomi. Let's look at Naomi for a second. We're going to go to Ruth. Pick it up chapter 4. Tell you a little bit about Ruth. In Ruth, we're going to see something about Ruth. Because Ruth was married to this guy named Elimelech. She had 2 sons. One name was Melian, the other one was Chilion. And the thing about this is, Naomi, husband died, her 2 kids got married, but her 2 sons died. That could have easily moved her to envy. Easily. Where she could have spoke words against the Most High. Easily could have did this. But was she moved to that? Was she moved to jealousy? Let's look at Naomi. Let's look at something with Naomi. Let's go over here to verse 14. Let's show you something about Naomi. In Naomi. Let's go over here to verse 14. Let's show you something about Naomi. And the woman said unto Naomi. Now, mind you, her daughter-in-law name was Ruth, but they speaking to Naomi. And it says, bless, wisdom be given of the Lord, which have not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. Because her daughter-in-law had a son. But it gets better. It gets better than this. See, because it's showing you she could have been moved to envy easily. But she taught her daughter Ruth how to continue to walk the straight and narrow. And the Spirit of God blessed Naomi. Look at this. I'm talking about this. It's clear as day in here. And we'll see that it says, and he shall be one of thee, a restorer of thy life. A restorer of thy life. Of thy life. This is prediction of this child, that came true. And a nurturer of thy old age. And thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons has bore him. Has bored him. This one daughter is better than 7 sons. this one daughter. Let me pull it back. Thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons. I want you to think on that while we're going through here. You think on that. See, you got some more in here. Let's look at this. Let's see what happened here. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it. Who had the child? Naomi didn't have this child. Ruth had the child. Let's go down one more. It says, and the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi. You think about that. She had all, if people want to be in the flesh, she had all the reasons in the world to be envious. She lost her husband and 2 sons. Never lost faith in God. You think about that. And they called his name Obed, and his father is Jesse, the father of David. Where do it say Ruth? I'm only pausing for a fact. To show you how God works. Never showing Naomi walking contrary unto God. Many people would have provoked the Spirit of God to jealousy for the death of their husband, the death of their 2 sons. Having envy, zeal towards God, which will cause you to show jealousy, which is the works of it. So jealousy is the functioning thing in the functioning expression of envy. It's just seeing it in action. Seeing one having envy towards a person, which can cause one to express jealousy in many ways. Compare with God. Show you jealousy with another person. See, but jealousy is the outcome of envy. Envy is the seed which produces things. You can put anything in envy. It just depends on what's going to come out of envy. And I'm going to help you see some of these things. So the difference between envy and jealousy is this. One will have a burning desire to have envy. It's one that's having a burning desire. Actually, let's do this. We're going to do this. And let me make this a little bit bigger. So we're going to look at this. Envy. And I want to put a thing around this. And I'm going to put envy right here. And we got to see this. And let me pull this down another one. So envy is this. Is a burning desire to have. And this is have anything with it. That's what that means. Anything with it. A burning desire to have. But he got more. Envy causes another thing. It'll cause you to covet what somebody else has. Envy. But envy has a little bit more to it. Envy seeking empty hands to be filled. This is like clockwork. But he got another one. Involves two people. It's envy. That's envy. Now we got to see a little bit more. Actually, let me move this over a little bit. Because we're going to see how this is all working. We're going to see how all this is working. So we got to put some more here. Envious. Told you we weren't done with this. Envious. And we're going to see how that works with this envy. And envious encourage one to envy others. So how can they do this? I'm going to show you. And these are things we need to watch for ourselves. Being boastful. That's being envious. Envious is being boastful. Why? Because you're coveting what someone else has, and two, it involves two people, which you and the other person, in desiring to have what they have. It's boastful. Actually, let's look at a couple of things. I'm gonna pull this up and we're gonna come right back to it. I'm gonna show you something. Let's look at Psalms. We're gonna go to 49. We're gonna look at verse 6. And you tell me if it's not. It says, "They that trust in their wealth and boast themselves in multitude of their riches." Tell me, I know a lot of you guys know people who do this. Do that, exactly that right there. Boast of their riches. Boast about stuff they have. Because they're really being envious, but they just showing you things like you can't get on my level. But let's look at it a little bit more. Let's look at another one. Let's go over here to 94. Let's go to 94 and pick it up at verse 4. It says, "How long shall they utter and speak hard things? And all the workers of iniquity boast themselves." They being boastful. They doing it for a reason. They doing it for a reason. And they gonna be boasting about things that anybody can really get, but they like to do those things because they figure you can't get them. And the same thing, let me go back to 7. We'll look at this one here. It says, "Confounded be all they that serve graven images, that boast themselves of idols." That boast themselves of idols. I gotta tell you, I got a younger brother-in-law. I'm not gonna even give his name, but he's the baby. He's the baby on my wife's side. And one time we all went out to breakfast. All of us go out to breakfast. So we sitting there, and he's sitting right directly next to me. But they have a cousin. Love to boast. You can't stop him from boasting. He's going to boast about anything he has. You can't tell him not to. So what happened, and he gets a kick out of it. Mind you, he's pretty well off himself. But you don't hear him, he don't boast about it. He kind of like he's a low-key cat. So what happened, we sitting there. And he asking his cousin, how did he accomplish these things? I only laugh because I'm thinking about the situation that was going on. Now, mind you, this brother is an engineer, and he, got a real good job, And he's sitting there, and this guy gonna tell him, he got this, he got that, he got this, he got that. Everything he's saying he got, my brother-in-law got it or got something actually better than that. And he's sitting there like, wow, this and what. So I'm kicking him. Like, man, stop, man. Because this just didn't make no sense. And he just boasting like, one day when you get older, you might be able to get one of these that I got. And I'm sitting there, I couldn't believe he was doing this. Because I didn't know my brother-in-law was actually like that. But he just like joking with him because it just amuses him. So when the guy got up to go get something to eat, I told him, I said, man, why are you doing it? He said, man, I'm just doing it just to see what he say. I just like doing it. And I'm sitting there, I say, man, that is cool. And he come back and he boasts some more. And he kept doing it. And the person he boasting to can probably buy him on a credit card. And you'll never know it. So that's why, and he's boasting over images. He was boasting the cars he had. He was boasting about the house he got. He was boasting about a motorcycle. He boasting about a boat. He boasting about all this stuff to his baby cousin. And if he would have took the time to ever go to his baby cousin's house, he would have found out that his baby cousin probably was pulling his leg the entire time. But this is what people be boastful of. And there's always a need to be envious. It needs to put someone down no matter what. See, this is the critical part. That's critical to being envious. You have to make sure they are beneath you and you are above them. That's being boastful. That's being envious. See, vengeful feelings towards others, being resentful. And then you can have eternal pains over success of others, begrudging. And you see somebody else who end up start doing well, you'll feel bad and hope they go broke the next day over their success. That's envious. You'll be an overachiever. Meaning you're going to be competitive. Whatever they got, you're going to try to get something better. And that cousin I'm talking about, he does that. You get something, he going to get something. If he got to go broke to get it, he going to get something better than yours. Or say it's better than yours. Unfulfilled desires or cravings, just being greedy about whatever you're doing. Self-exalting. Envious. Demanding. So we need to remember something on that side. And we're going to look at something there. So this is one you remember here. Let's go to Proverbs. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 27. going to go to verse 4. Actually, I want that all on one side. We're going to go to verse 4. And it says this: wrath is cruel. Wrath is cruel. Comparing the same thing with anger. And anger is outrageous. But who is able to stand before envy? This is unreal. Wrath is cruel. Anger is outrageous. However, but who is able to stand before envy? When you run into an envious person, you running into some problems. Because they never going to stop. They never going to stop. So let's put those up there, and then we're going to go over to the other side, and we're going to put some other ones there. But let's put these here to make sure you have it. So we're going to put the boastful. We got the one with that one. And we want to put this there. And we seeing this is needs to put others down. That's a need that they have to have. This has to be in effect. That has to be in effect. Because if it's not going to work. They got to make sure you're beneath them. You have another one here, which is what? Resentful. They're going to be resentful. You have another one. Begrudging. That has to be an effect. Internal pain over someone else's success. Have an eternal pain because somebody else succeeded and wasn't even thinking about you. You wasn't even on their mind, but they have a problem. One of the big ones. Greedy. And actually, I'm going to put in competitive. I'm going to put both of those there. Besides putting them on one. On greedy and competitive. And always this. This is always self-exalting. Self-exalting. Why? This involves two people every time. Self-exalting involves two people. Greedy ties you directly to this. Begrudging, just think about that. Internal pain of someone else's success. Resentful. These bad feelings about somebody else. About what somebody else has. Needs to put others down. All this just clears into, you can just see how this, look how crazy this is. Look how crazy this is. Just on envy or being envious. But we ain't even done yet. We gotta look at the jealousy part. We got jealousy and we got jealous. And this is another part. Actually, so we need to put jealousy. And that jealousy pours down into this. keep. Meaning you're going to keep whatever you can get a hold on. You got a burning desire to keep. To see where it's going to tie into all this over here, because you get something, you're gonna be resentful. I'm going to plug them all in afterwards, so don't worry about it. But we got to put these in here. Jealousy also what? Possessive of one would have. Not even yours, but you want it. You believe it's yours. I'm just tying just that one, just so you know it. Just so you know it. So that envy produces this jealousy. You see how it just produces. You can see this animal just coming alive. Let's look at it a little bit more. Let's look at it a little bit more. Fear being empty. Do you know how crazy this is? You know, and actually, it tells you right here. Tells you right there. You can look at the arrow on how all this stuff is just going everywhere. And one of the key things is this. This is one of the key things. Usually, involves three people. Usually involves three people because they need someone to boast to. They need someone to boast to because you ain't going to want to hear what they boasting about. This is what's really going on. Because I'm getting ready to put this over. I got to put another one over there. So this is what that's pulling in. But that produces something else. That produces something else. Jealous. Jealous. This is a problem here. It involves some things that really is dangerous. Same thing, actually, let's go back and look at that, because it involves some dangerous things here. Remember Malachi chapter 1 verse 2? He says, I have loved you, saith the Spirit of God, yet ye say, when? When? Are we that shallow? The Spirit of God told you he loved us, and what is our response? I haven't seen you did nothing lately. What you done lately? Prove it. Waiting to be rewarded for evil and not for good. Are you? This is us. And this is the problem. Jealous. And I'm going to show you where the problem is. This is being of others. Being judgmental of others. How? I'm going to show it to you. Let's look at something. I want to show you something. Something real simple. We're not going to go really complex on anything. Just look at something. In the serpent, mind you, God, running everything, gave us some instructions on what to do. It's clear. So when he told us these things, we were supposed to perform them. But through jealousy, it what drove this. And all Satan has to do is put jealousy on the table. This is all he put on the table, right here. For God doeth know that the day you learn thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. That's all you had to put on the table. Put that on the table, got you. Because right then, she didn't hesitate no more from this conversation. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise as God, she took thereof of the fruit, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. He did eat. He want to be judgmental of others. He going to judge. When God came back on the scene, what did he say? I hid myself. Let's look at it a little bit more here. Exclusive expectations. I don't know what to say. Exclusive expectations. Not allowing outside relationships, as one would actually get this confused. If you have a working relationship with another, or the expectation of one of the same sex as with the other, it's right here. So people have this problem, and it drives this. This is a hardcore driver. This is a hardcore driver. Well, how do this work out? Easy. See, what happened is this. Anxiety, anger over potential loss. Meaning you need to have certain control over that person. Because that expectation that you want that exclusiveship, as if that person is trying to do something over you. So it means this. You threatening to losing that relationship if they do this, or you're going to threaten that relationship over that with no reason behind it. No reason behind it. It's just like my wife and I had a guy who used to work for me in the office, and he was an actor. And what happened when I had him work from home to where he can go do his he'd go do his auditions from his house to go to the studios. So what happened, I allowed him to be there for about 6 months. I didn't need him in the office. So when it came time to where we had all the equipment and I needed him to come into the office, and my wife, we all good friends, this and that, and a famous guy. And he used to make my wife laugh like crazy. She's he just have her with her stomach hurting because he's a comical guy, hell of an actor. And what happened? He got upset because he wanted to stay at home, but I had to have him come into the office. So he ended up blowing up over that, and he got highly upset. So we ended up breaking that relationship off that I had with him for about 20 years. So I get home. And my wife, she said, do you mind if I continue, being friends with him? He makes me laugh, this and that. I'd like to go. Yeah, cool. I said, I'm cool with him, but I think he's just crazy. but he's cool. So what happened, sometimes, she'll come over and he'll be there, and I go out to the car. I go in the car and do whatever and let her, and she never would try to take a long time. She might stay out there with him 5-10 minutes, and he's out there cracking jokes as just doing his normal thing. Now, he wouldn't say anything to me, but the main thing was it was no confusion on what was going on based on that relationship. She embraced him with a hug, he embraced her with everything's cool. But it has to come to a point to where you have to trust that your partner, to where you know that it's nothing odd that's going to go on. So I didn't have no issues there. But he had an issue because of that. And she knew why, but, he'll sit there and make her laugh, but he never said nothing about me. And he just talks about, and she talks about what he's doing, and he just was a comical, funny guy. But if I wanted to be jealous, and I could have been angry over potential loss, so you're going to choose either him or me, which could have been my expectation on what I would have been judgmental of him, based on some inconsistency on his envy and making some words because I made him come in. That would be stupidity on my behalf. So I let him have his way. As far as, he said, she wanted to go. Hey, I made sure everything was comfortable for him to leave. But at no time I sat there and I tried to do anything in retaliatory towards him. Had no issues. We was friends, had no issues with him. Hey, he's mad behind that, but one thing I always knew, when you're dealing with actors, they are very feeble people. Their heart and their whole life is on their shoulders. And all you gotta do is tip it off and they go south. That I knew from the beginning. So I didn't think he'd do it because of the years that I had with him, but he still did it. So it was no harm there, and him and my wife is friends today. I know she's seen him. She can run over there to him, hug him. I do not have no problem whatsoever. But all he's gonna do, he gonna crack jokes with, because that's his normal thing. But that's what people will do when jealousy is there. When jealousy is there, those things will happen. And it brings us right into the other part where we're going to look at. We're going to look at this. That's another issue right here. Most people don't see this as an issue. I can put this down. I can use it in a minute. Leaning on the identity of others, where you're emotionally dependent based on what someone else or someone else's identity. Meaning you sit there and you'll see someone, or you'll have a friend who has this high-end car, or you have a friend who has a car, or you have a friend who has this this big house, and you will sit there and you are emotionally dependent upon what they have to make your status higher. People depend on that. People depend on those type of things. You have another one, which is this here. So you have quite a few things that causes jealousy. This is a strong one. Overly possessive of others. A controlling spirit that is in you. This is a controlling spirit that is within you that you would do. You want to control who they friends with, who they not friends with, what they can do, what they can't do, because you want to make sure they can't do something that you don't know about. You want to know everything that person does. every inch, every crack, every what is this? What did you? Okay, what did you do? Okay, what you do that? What you do that? What? Wait a minute, hold it. What was that? Because you want to make sure you controlling that person. If not, you'd be jealous. All they have to do is say something to somebody else and you're overly jealous. Which causes this main one here. And this goes hand in hand. That means unable to trust God means you are 100%. Actually, I'm going to put that even there. You're insecure. That's clear as day. See, because most people will not put their trust in God. They'll put their trust more in a car than they would in God. Actually, let's look at something. I want to show you something. We're going to go to Proverbs. We're going to look at Proverbs chapter 3, picking it up at verse 5. And it tells you this. It says, trust in the Spirit of God with all thy heart. Don't say with some of it, or a little, with all thy heart. Lean not unto thy own understanding. You have to trust in God 100%. With all thy heart, 100%. This is what we have to do. And a lot of us is not willing to do that. A lot of us is not willing to do that. In Psalms chapter 63, in verse 8, it says, my soul followeth hard after thee. Thy right hand upholdeth me. Not sometimes, all the time. Don't never be distrustful of someone and having suspicious, always thinking they have suspicious behaviors, and there's none there. And it's none there. This is what people do. So how do we look at this? Some have hidden disguises and masking envy or jealousy. So some can have hidden disguises in doing this. And let's see how this works out. Let's see how this works out, because some of it, they can hide it. So we need to see how can they hide this envy and jealousy. We need to see. We're going to go to James, who will help us. And we're going to let James expose some of this for us. And this is the part of the key. And it says, for where envying, and strife is, there's confusion. Where envying and strife is, there's confusion in every evil work. They're going to do everything possible to make you react. So making an issue of unfairness in life, blaming it on the world, they'll do. They'll say unfairness of life alone, and they will blame it on the world and never themselves. The perfect people who do that is blacks. Is blacks. People hate even when I bring that up. As a black people, we already know what condition we're in. I don't care where you go in the world. We already know what condition we're in. And if you go in the Bible, you know what we need to do to get out of it. But the first thing we look for is a leader to sit there to make some speeches to where we can go out there and say, right on, right on. And blame everything on the world. Pretending apathy, meaning a lack of interest or enthusiasm of the indifference to people's situation. Having this feeling of self-pity. See, we're avoiding problems and people that could produce or provoke us to jealousy. Offering false praises, even congratulations. Dropping unnecessary negative information about someone else because you was moved from envy to jealousy. Protecting jealousy or envy unto another. This is our problem. Developing these superior attitudes towards another. And if none of all that works, we want to become martyrs. Sum everything up, we become a martyr. All of a sudden, we become the face of the victim of all things. So to sum all this up, the surface of cause is this. I want you to write these down. Let me see, I can pull it up. Let me see if I can pull this up. I'll go down here. So to sum all this up, envy. Envy is the desire of self-gain, influencing money. That's over here. I put it down here. The whole thing over here. It's money. That's one of the main keys up here. That's one of the main keys right there. And one of the other ones is you seeking a comparison of your achievements. That's also. That's another part that we have that produces it all. And we have put emphasis on this for the looks, the clothes, etc., talent, promotions, even unrealistic expectations or trips or social invitations. That's what all this over here, envy. And it's going to produce the same rivalry over here. Because what it's going to produce? Trust. Lack of trust. Meaning what? I'm gonna put some words here. I'm gonna put this here. That means friendships, marriages, and we're gonna put sibling. Sibling rivalry. You know how rampant this is in Israel? Lack of trust. Jealousy. Sibling rivalries. Oh, I got this. Oh, I'm trying to keep up with this, so I'm going to go buy that. Go in debt behind jealousy. Go in debt. Because the envious and being boastful going to cause that. Right there. Right there. Going to cause it. And it's going to produce what? That burn to have. These are clear. These are clear in all day, and we have this problem. And jealousy can cause one big serious thing is here. Because if they can't produce, it'll cause this. A low self-image. That's what it's going to do. Guilt going to come behind it. Fear of loss. Fear of loss of what? You fear of loss because all your spouse, the husband or wife, has to do is sit there. We can't achieve this. And they can fear loss. Oh, you can't do this, so I might need to roll. You can't do it, I might need to go. So I need you to remember something. As we're going to close out here. We're going to close out here. I want you to remember something. We're going to look at these, and I want you to take your time and see. And a lot of people like to just. One second. Some people like to just run a study real quick. I'm going to read it, and then I'm done with it. No, that's the stupidest way to do stuff. You want to run a full-blown study, and you need to understand it completely. Not sitting there, I'm going to do a study, because a lot of people like to do these so-called Christian studies. I'm going to read it. I'm going to go look at some commentary. I get it. That's the dumbest thing in the world to do. You take your time and understand what this is saying. Because I'm actually not going to break this down, because I want you to think on this. I want you to study this. It says, but I rejoice in the Creator greatly that now at the last you care of me have flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but ye lack opportunity. Not that I speak in respect of one. That's not why we speaking. In respect of one. For I have learned. One of the biggest problems here, people, and we got a lot of people come on here. You see them on YouTube, and they speak, and they build their time and all their time over and over again for the speaker want. And the one is they want you to put in that super chat and put money there, and they have their donation buttons. You put them there. You have your join buttons to where you have to pay a monthly to do that. See, not that I speak in respect of one, but I've learned. That's what you need to clearly understand. Each and every person need to understand that, even for themselves. You don't speak in the looks of want. I, whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. Whatever it is, be content. I know both how to be abased. I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. This is serious. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. And I always said, just in a little bit of a side note, I always tell people, this channel goes up and down. Because you have people, when people say things, they get offended. Because they want to be able to say, or they want you to hold to some of their beliefs. So I want you to look at that one. I want you to make sure you get that one, and this one too. We're going to go to Galatians chapter 5. We're going to pick it up at verse 13. And it says this, and this is another one I want you to make sure you study, because next week we're going to come with a whole different side of everything. It says, for brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for the occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. Verse 15. For all is lawful is fulfilled in one word, even in this: thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Verse 15. But if I bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another. And we're going to sit there and we're going to see some things here. What is going on? And he says more. He says, and I say, then walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. That is your key. Because the lust of the flesh is going to produce envy, being envious, as well as jealousy and jealous. Because all those things is completely of the flesh. So he's making sure this is clear. For the flesh, lust is against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. These are contrary to one another, so they cannot do the things ye would. But if you be led by the Spirit, ye are not under the law. Now the works of the law are made known, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness. These things, because you're going to be boastful of those things. You have men be boastful on how they had got this person or that person. Lasciviousness, how they had got this person or that person. Idolatry, witchcraft, variance, hatred, ill emotions, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envying, murders, drunkenness, rivalry, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have told you in times past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But he says this: but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. We're going around this again, and you see how you keep coming back to this. That they that are in Christ have crucified the flesh with the afflictions of lust. If we live in the Spirit, let us walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vain glory, provoking one another, envying one another. So I'm hoping that you guys have understood what went on, and seeing that envying gonna always produce the other. Always. That's the only way you can get that. So I want to make sure that everybody understood what was going on. And if you, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to where you can put on there, because next week what I'm going to be doing, we're going to be coming with another one. And hopefully that we can understand what went on here. So I just want to make sure we understood this one here. So if I'm just waiting a second to where we can see and make sure that everybody understood, and hopefully you took the notes to understand the lesson that is happening. Because this is more so what we need to make sure we remember and to continually move forward on these things. Because most people, when we look at jealousy and envy, we not knowing the driver is envy first, which will drive you automatically to jealousy. So I'm just waiting to see what is happening here. I don't know what ST mean, but I see yes, there's many of them. Yeah, so we getting this here where everybody understanding what was happening. So I do appreciate So next time, if you look at this and you go through this, you know what the driver is. You clearly know what the driver is. And the driver to all things is envy. And once that envy kicks in, that's where it starts. So with that, I appreciate it. They got it all down. I appreciate it. So with this here, we not before you long. So with this here, we're going to end it here. And hopefully next time, when we come into the next one, and I'm good and glad you got your notes, because that's what we need to make sure of with those notes. So I see that everybody understand that what's happening and got it all down. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna end here, and we're gonna crank this up next week, and we're gonna pick it up. And I believe, I'm not too for sure if Elder T is going to do his teaching tomorrow or not. I'm not too for sure. But just keep that brother in prayer. And if he do, so be it. If not, please understand that he's going through some things right now that he need prayer for him and his family. So with that, I say to each and every person, until next time, I say shalom.